106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Good evening, Chicago. Welcome to your Friday night edition of Chicago Corner. It's been quite a week with election returns and other things in our news cycle. And I can see I've got toothpaste on the edge of my mouth. There we go. Welcome to the show tonight. Thanks for joining us. Let's see who's with us in the live chat tonight. We've got Arturo Medina. Thanks, Art. It is Friday. It is finally Friday. And looks like we got 5 viewers in the live chat. Hopefully that will increase more as the show goes on because we have a lot of good stuff to cover tonight. Yes, Art, I'm not even going to acknowledge that. In the meantime, let us welcome our co-host with the most, Mr. Ed Heller.
Hey, everybody. Hey, why don't I turn my camera on? That's a good idea.
Let's see that smiling face.
Hey, there I am.
How you doing, Ed?
I'm pretty good. It's a pizza Friday for me. I was like, okay, damn it, I'm gonna make some pizza. I didn't have time to make dough. I stopped at the store and I got pizza dough and I put the whole thing together with all the ingredients and I baked it myself and it's delicious.
It's always Pizza Friday for Ed. Every Friday is Pizza Friday.
Well, yeah, I don't eat it every Friday, but I wish I could.
Well, is this like a Taco Tuesday? We got Taco Tuesday. We got Pizza Friday. Specific
yes.
Night of the week.
And if you fold your pizza right, it's a pizza taco. But that's a whole other conversation that we just don't have time for, ladies and gentlemen, because there's so many stories tonight. It's jam-packed.
I think we're going to go long. And as you know, Ed, that's what she said.
We don't have that as a video clip. I'm really shocked, Jerry.
I guess I got to find it.
Yeah.
I did add
on several copies of The Office or the U.S. version.
Yeah,
I don't know if I had that as a catchphrase in the U.K. version.
Is it Steve Carell says it, isn't it? Yeah, he's the one who says it. So Ed, I heard there was an election this week. Did you hear about that? Did that kind of cross your radar?
What are elections, Jerry?
Well, speaking of elections, I guess I had to run this. To no one's surprise, Congressman Chuy Garcia announced this week that he will be taking on Lori Lightfoot in the 2023 Chicago mayoral election. Of course, as I predicted, when he announced, he made sure to remind everybody that he was announcing on the same day that his mentor, the very venerable and respected Mayor Harold Washington, Chuy announced on the same day as Harold Washington, and he really did not hold back at all to remind people of that, to suggest that he is a candidate of the same quality as Harold Washington was, given how long he's been in politics now and essentially become, I think, a tool of the establishment. I think him stepping forward now is either the Democrats trying to hedge their bet if Lori Lightfoot loses, or we were also speculating maybe this is an attempt to spoil the attempts of other candidates so that she can win. Whichever way it goes, if Chuy wins, we know through our conversation with Shane Coughlin from Kerberos Media several weeks back that the Democratic Party is already looking to groom Mayor Lightfoot for a run for governor of Illinois if J.B. Pritzker decides he's going to run for president. And yeah, exactly, right?
I don't understand it.
It's all pawns on the chessboard. This isn't really about what's best for us. It's about what's best for them. Because when Chuy originally said he was going to wait to see how the elections turned out and if the Democrats were going to hold control, I think what he was saying was that if there's a red wave, then he'll run for mayor. Well, there wasn't a red wave, but he's still running for mayor. So I think that, Chuy is going to abdicate his position as congressman and jump into the race here because he clearly sees Lightfoot as vulnerable. Or is he just doing the bidding of the puppet masters, moving all the pieces around the board? What do you think?
I think it's a combination, Jerry. I think you've hit all the angles there, and it sounds to me like Chuy's he's like, well, I'm probably going to have more power if I'm mayor than if I'm trying to paddle uphill or tread water or whatever analogy you want to use in the House of Representatives, which has basically just flipped. So Nancy doesn't have power anymore. Chuy's like, yeah, this ain't gonna work for me no more. I better just go to Chicago and run for mayor again. And of course, like you said, they're shuffling pieces on the chessboard. I don't know would you consider Chuy maybe a rook or a bishop in this case? Maybe a maybe a knight.
Maybe
I'm not sure. I mean, he's not really so much a pawn anymore.
Yeah, maybe a knight for those who are controlling things around the board. I think if Lightfoot loses and they decide to position her to run for governor, knowing full well she's not going to win, as Shane was sharing with us, then she has basically been relegated and reduced to being a pawn because they just want to get her visibility up nationally so she might have a shot at Congress. So maybe they can put her back in where Chuy was, right, while he's mayor, shuffle things around the board and still retain control everywhere.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what she does after she loses.
Yeah, I like the way you said after she loses because fingers crossed that's what ends up happening. Well, let's run the video from WGN. I'm sorry, ABC 7 Chicago, and expect the usual copyright strike we're going to get, even though we're sharing it as news and fair use. Here we go.
Chuy Garcia says Chicago is at a crossroads and needs new leadership. He promised to unite the city and build coalitions. He hopes to ride his experience and major name recognition from the 4th Congressional District to the 5th floor at City Hall. Jesus Chuy Garcia joining dozens of supporters on Navy Pier to launch his campaign for Chicago mayor.
It is quite evident that the winds of change are blowing across the city of Chicago this morning.
Garcia joining an already crowded field looking to lead the Windy City. He made it clear that he is ready to take on Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
Chicago needs a mayor that has walked in the shoes of everyday Chicagoans. A mayor who has the experience in city council.
More on that in a little bit, because when he talks about worrying about the walking in the shoes of other Chicagoans, he made sure to announce his candidacy while Anjanette Young was speaking to city council in regards to pushing for a search warrant policy to protect people from bust-ins from the cops. That's when he scheduled his. You notice that, right?
His timing is terrible on this. It's like anyone inside the city knowing all the other stuff that's going on right now are going, okay, why the hell is he doing it now? And what the hell is he doing it on Navy Pier for? Is my question. Why is he making this announcement on Navy Pier instead of, I don't know, Portillo's, maybe a local restaurant, maybe somewhere in Little Village?
Isn't there
where he lives?
Isn't Navy Pier there where they normally swear in a lot of our political winners after elections? I know Harold Washington was sworn in there. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it's because that's where Harold Washington was sworn in as mayor for the city of Chicago. Remember?
So he's trying to will it into existence by making all these appearances that are giving him comparisons to Harold. Okay, yeah. All right, that's the only reason I can think of is why the hell he went and did this on Navy Pier.
Yeah, it's optics, because you're right. He should have done it at Pilsen. If he's really worried about walking in the shoes of Chicagoans, he would do it in the neighborhood that he lives in, or that he lived in while he was here in Chicago and not in Washington, or where he still lives here in Chicago.
He still lives.
But yeah, the optics, especially in regard to Anjanette Young speaking before City Council regarding a really, really serious matter. Look over here. Don't pay any attention to that. Chuy's going to run. After the school board asked him to run months ago, and he asked them to wait, and they're like, "Motherfucker, we can't wait. We got to get someone in the race now." It's flooding here. We don't have time to wait on your ego. That's why they chose Brandon Johnson. And of course, now that Brandon started his campaign and started putting in the time, now Chuy's going to flank him and come around from the back because he feels that congressional duties are not important enough for him to pay attention to, while we do have a crowded clown car here in Chicago already.
And Jerry, I also noticed that it was very interesting to see that ABC7 acknowledged that there are other candidates in the race.
Yeah.
They actually had Jamal on there. I'm like, wow. Yep. They didn't leave him off. They didn't leave anybody off. They had what are we up to, 10 candidates now?
I think so. I was very grateful to see that they left him on there, that they're hopefully going to be paying more attention to him now that the midterms are over and we're really diving in deep towards the general in February. Let me continue Channel 7 story.
Springfield County Board and Washington, D.C. A mayor who will bring together and unite instead of driving us apart.
Garcia, who calls the late Mayor Harold Washington a friend and mentor, launching his bid on the 40th anniversary of Washington's historic announcement of his campaign for mayor. Garcia was also the handpicked successor of former Congressman Luis Gutierrez.
Like Harold Washington, Chuy's a uniter, a unifier. Look, it doesn't matter if you're black or white, Latino, Asian, gay, or straight. Chuy has a record of accomplishment.
By waiting this long to enter the race, Garcia has lost the support of two key unions that backed his 2015 mayoral bid, SEIU 73 and the Chicago Teachers Union, which have already thrown their support to Brandon Johnson. Garcia undeterred. In casting his vision for Chicago, Garcia talked about the need for bringing economic hope to Chicagoans, but he said it starts with getting a handle on crime.
Chicagoans...
Lori Lightfoot said the same thing when she ran on her record of police reform as a federal prosecutor. Remember?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get a lot of candidates that are going to be addressing crime, and it's going to be, 75% lip service.
Yep,
on average.
When you walk out of your door and head to work, send your kids to school, your family is safe.
While the police are able to bang down your door and at the wrong address, like they did to Anjanette Young, who was speaking at the same time he announced his candidacy. Remember that?
We were talking about that next, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm leading into it. Yeah, I'm transitioning, Ed. You know me. I like to ride the wave of transitions, story to story.
I didn't want to jump the gun on my commentary on that.
Yeah, we're gonna save it. We got a lot. It'll be fun.
They calling Garcia a career politician who's prioritizing his own ambitions.
There you go.
And they criticized him for abandoning his role in Congress when Democrats need him. Back to you.
Yeah, so that's how that worked out. Now, from the Block Club Chicago article, as reported by Kelly Bauer and Melody Mercado, is there anything else in there that they didn't cover? During Thursday's campaign speech, Garcia said he'll focus on revitalizing Chicago so it can be a place to grow for all residents. He said he's made a home in a little village for decades, meeting his wife, Evelyn Garcia, there and raising their 3 children together. He wants that for others, he said. When I walk down 26th Street, I see the hustle and bustle. I feel at home. I feel proud. But Chicago is at a crossroads. It's not like that for everyone, which is, right, why he decided to announce at Navy Pier. Look, I have had respect for Chuy Garcia in the past. I don't want to suddenly jump all over him and not give him benefit of the doubt. But my problem here, despite my prior respect for him and what he's done, is that he sees Lightfoot's vulnerable. Other candidates have entered the race earlier and put in the work. He's a congressman, but it's fine for him to jump ship from that to what he thinks is going to feather his own nest better. That's where I'm suddenly having a problem with Chuy Garcia and his priorities.
Yeah, he should stay in Congress. They need him more than ever now if the Dems want to get anything done, if they even care about that. I mean, a lot of them are lip service too.
We have enough candidates in the race here, and the fact that the Chicago's Teachers Union selected somebody that they feel best represents a real progressive agenda, not a phony progressive agenda like Lightfoot, pandered and claimed that she was going to enact. His candidacy could potentially spoil it for everyone else. He could lose, and we're going to get another 4 years of Lightfoot. That's the potential miscalculation that I see happening here in a race that is already crowded with so many other candidates, as we've already seen.
I think at this point, maybe Chuy's made that calculation. Deciding that, well, Lori's not going to get that much support this time around. And if Chuy's an option, since he was actually, when he ran against Rahm, he got what, 40-something% of the vote?
Well, the interesting thing here to consider too, Ed, is if he loses, he's not abdicating his position in Congress. He can walk right back. So he can spoil the election here. Right? He can spoil the election for all the candidates who've already started and put in the work. They lose. Lori wins. Chuy comes out either way. He's going to win both ways. He can walk right back to Congress and leave us in the continued reign of terror of Lori Lightfoot. That's what's...
Yeah, that's not right.
Good question. Good question. Why not? He's behind everything else. Is Obama behind this? Kathy asks.
I think half of the stories that are floating around, those little scandals, I think a lot of those are bait for reporters too. So I'm curious how news organizations other than us are going to be covering this. And I hesitate to call us a news organization.
We're just a bunch of jagoffs with opinions over here at Chicago Corner. I'm not going to claim to be a journalist. I'm just a big mouth who has a platform to say what I want, and I love it.
Yeah, just a bunch of news jagoffs.
The News Brothers. Well, Heather Sharon was there covering the arrival of Jesus Chuy Garcia at Navy Pier, and she shared that in attendance were all the alderman jumping Lightfoot ship. Although I didn't cross-reference to see how many of these alder people have been supportive of Mayor Lightfoot's recent agendas we were talking about on Tuesday, how they basically gave her carte blanche she wanted with the budget and the police and everything else. But those in attendance were Alderman Susan Sadlowski Garza, Alderman Gilbert Villegas, once close allies of Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Also here, Alderman Mike Rodriguez, Alderman Felix Cardona, and State Representative Teresa Ma. Also, Cook County Board Commissioner Alma Anaya, former U.S. Representative Luis Gutierrez, whom Garcia replaced in Congress, and his daughter Jessica Washington Gutierrez, who is running for the 30th Ward alderperson, another dynasty there that the Gutierrezes are establishing. So that was interesting to see who was there in support. Basically, it allows Lightfoot to see who's probably now on her unfavorable enemies list of those that aren't going to support her.
Yeah, and that's going to basically show us who's basically on Team Blue for whatever they want, as opposed to what we think is best for the city. So, at least that's my perspective on that.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. Now, as we mentioned, while Chuy was announcing his bid for the mayor's race over at Navy Pier, Anjanette Young was at City Council making her case for the request to change search warrant policies. And we'll get to how that ended up after we watch the video that is currently loading and loading and loading. There we go.
Tanya, Anjanette Young testified this morning here at City Hall. She says she wants to make sure that no one goes through, what she went through. Now, Young testified in person in front of the Committee on Public Safety. The committee is considering an ordinance that would go beyond search warrant reforms already adopted by CPD. It would ban the use of no-knock warrants and ensure the use of officers' body-worn cameras. It would also include measures to make sure police confirm whether or not the actual target of an investigation lives in the home police plan to raid, and avoid raids when children are present. Back in February of 2019, Young, who is a social worker, was in the middle of changing her clothes when officers raided her house. She says she was left naked and handcuffed for 40 minutes, despite pleas to officers to allow her to put her clothes on. The person they were searching for lived next door, and later police learned they had bad information. Young settled a lawsuit with the city for $2.9 million. Emotionally, this morning, she appealed to the committee to support the ordinance.
Imagine it was your mother who was standing there. None of us would have wanted our mother to have that type of experience. But guess what? I'm someone's mother. See me in that frame. See me as your mother, someone who deserves dignity and respect, regardless of the situation.
Alderperson Maria Haddon, who also testified this morning, says the ordinance includes language that would demand that the city be transparent with information on wrongful raids. Meanwhile, opponents say the ordinance could prevent officers from being able to respond to quickly changing circumstances and could put them in danger. Now, Haddon says the ordinance has 20 co-sponsors from City Council. She says the measure is not trying to demonize the police or take their jobs. Instead, the aim is to make the city better.
I think it's important for people to know that these aren't high standards. They are best practices. They're basic recommendations. And if people aren't performing these things, they probably shouldn't be doing their jobs.
Now, at this point, this is a make or break day for this ordinance. If it doesn't pass through the committee, it would not go to the full city council for.
Okay. So that was the, whoa. You're not paying for commercial consideration on this channel. Get lost. So important video, important testimony. So of course, Ed, quite naturally, it failed to get aldermanic support. After this woman's trauma,
Unbelievable.
after paying out over $2 million for traumatizing her, they are not going to do anything about it. This comes to us from Aaron Haggerty of the Daily Line. Anjanette Young, push to change search warrant policy, fails to get aldermanic support. The ordinance proposed by Black alderwomen aimed to ban the police department's use of no-knock or knock-and-announce warrants after the wrongful raid of Young's home in 2019. As we saw, she made a desperate, emotional plea. The City Council Committee on Public Safety met Thursday to discuss and vote on the proposal, a version of which was first proposed in 2020, 2 years ago. Since all this happened, members of the Public Safety Committee voted down the proposal 4-10, leaving it stuck in committee. Quote, "It's shameful that it took us this long, and it's shameful that they didn't move forward with it today," Young said after Thursday's committee meeting. "But shame on them and shame on the city for not supporting this, because we will get this ordinance passed whether it's on the state level or some other way, and then the city will have to reflect back on that they missed an opportunity to make a real change," like Chuy was talking about over at Navy Pier, while all the attention was on him while she was speaking to City Council. The version of the proposal Alderman voted on Thursday includes Alderman Maria Haddon, who we also saw in the video, as its lead sponsor, and would make myriad changes to the police department search warrant policy and enshrine the changes in municipal code, a component of the proposal that irked some aldermen. Ed, can you imagine this irking alderman after that we paid over $2 million to this woman, that the proposal is irking people to maybe reform it?
Oh, I don't know, Jerry. I'm not a big fan of being irked. I guess I can understand how the older people creatures feel. No,
Well,
this is ridiculous.
it's obscene is what it is. I'm going to use that word. I haven't used that word enough lately. It is obscene how they're treating us. As proposed, the ordinance would ban the police department's use of no-knock or knock-and-announce warrants and would require police to use the least intrusive method to execute search warrants. The proposal would
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Right. The proposal would also require corroboration of tips from informants and would prohibit police from pointing guns at children. Quote, so much of what we do in this body is to fix things that are wrong, Haddon said. We're not here to demonize the police department. We're not here to take away people's jobs. We're here to make the city of Chicago better. As we beg every week, we're not here to be critical of the police department. We want them to live up to the ideals that law enforcement is supposed to represent. Young attended Thursday's committee meeting where she recounted the wrongful raid during which she was handcuffed while naked as police officers rummaged through her home after mistakenly targeting her in the execution of a search warrant. Young urged aldermen to approve the ordinance and spoke on behalf of other Chicagoans who have experienced trauma due to raids. We saw her entreaties in the video. Now, responding to a question from Alderman Jeanette Taylor of the 20th, Young said she has been diagnosed with major depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. Is that any surprise? Related to the trauma from the wrongful raid. Additionally, Young said she had to take 11 months off work on medical leave following the raid. This trauma lasts forever, Young said, speaking for all the families of the city of Chicago. You know what? I wonder if the police would bust into some of these corrupt aldermen's homes the way that they busted into Anjanette Young's home. God knows the feds have got so much dirt on so many of these aldermen who are still serving while they're under investigation, while they've committed crimes. But, they're treated with the kid gloves of, let's, serve them their subpoena and let's walk into their office and ask everybody to leave before we start searching things. That courtesy is not afforded to everybody. And this is the big problem here, is that, again, it's a situation of rules for thee, not for me. They live by a different standard than the rest of us. So is it any surprise that the alder people don't give a shit? They don't give a shit about what happens to people like this woman, where they get all of the respect and all of the consideration given, despite the fact they're actually committing crimes, when, the feds finally come in and say, hey, we got to look into things here.
Yeah. Where do I start here?
I know. I'm really riled up about this.
Yeah. These are just common sense reforms that should have rubber stamped and flown through and said, yeah, these are standard operating procedures. No one in law enforcement should have a problem with it. But they have a problem with it. Why? They want to be able to make bad decisions and have complete overreach, go to the wrong person's house, overreach on their authority, and be wrong and have no consequences.
They're tone deaf and out of touch. The majority of the city council that votes with Lori Lightfoot all the time are tone deaf and out of touch. We have a handful of progressive alder people who stand up to her and stand up for their constituents, the people of their wards, like Alderman Haddon, and the rest they just don't give a shit. Elena Gottreich, Lightfoot's deputy mayor of public safety, said on Thursday that no knock warrants have been significantly regulated since 2019. Gottreich further tried to make the case that codifying police department policy into municipal law, as the Anjanette Young ordinance proposes, becomes sticky and duplicative. Some critics of the proposed ordinance to change the police department's search warrant policies argue it would conflict with the federal consent decree the city has been under since 2019. But Alderman Harry Osterman of the 48th, who held the Public Safety Committee meeting in the absence of committee chair Alderman Chris Talaferro, said that if officials overseeing the city's performance under the consent decree have issues with the ordinance, they would raise them with aldermen. Passage of this ordinance by the city council, if the federal monitor feels there are provisions inconsistent with the consent decree, there's a remedy for them to come back and say there's some things that we want to tweak, Osterman said. Ed.
Yeah, or just revise this consent decree, amending all of these ordinances into it. How hard could that be?
Not very.
And Arturo actually makes a pretty good point in the chat. But Jerry, she is poor. If she had been rich in the first place, the police would not be in this situation.
You're right, Art. Absolutely right. Kathy shares, I'm looking forward to the new city council. Yeah, let's fingers crossed, Kath. I hope the consent decree folks really slams them. Now, Haddon called criticisms related to the consent decree scare tactics and red herrings, because that's exactly what they are. She said, we could have passed it through the full city council. The police department then would have been obligated to work on policy drafts in order to fall in alignment with our legislation, and those would be reviewed by the consent decree monitor. If the consent decree monitor found any problems, they would make recommendations, which we would do amendments for, Haddon told reporters on Thursday. We do these processes all the time. Speaking to reporters after Thursday's committee meeting, Young pointed out the city is in an election season with candidates lining up to challenge Lightfoot. You guys will hear more from me because I will be endorsing a candidate who will stand by me, and we will continue to push, Young said. I hope she gets out there. I hope this woman here should be the poster woman for all Chicagoans. The poster Chicagoan for all Chicagoans. Our rights not to be just abused and pushed aside with any kind of logical, reasonable, common sense oversight. And I hope that, whichever candidate is on her side, she stands alongside so we can see who our champions are and who the real enemies of the people actually are.
I'm looking through this Block Club article to see if there's any quotes from Lightfoot about this.
Oh, of course
there aren't.
Of course.
And you know why? Because she tried to cover this whole thing up.
That's right. Just like Ron. You know what? And this should haunt her into this next election the way the Laquan McDonald execution basically forced Rahm to realize he wasn't going to win another time once it was exposed how he covered that up, how he was complicit in the cover-up of a murder, period. And now he's ambassador to Japan.
Yeah, and Chuy's team made really bad call on when to decide to do that announcement. They should have waited until they got an answer from this ordinance on a yes or no, and then he could have come out to blast Lightfoot about it. Maybe he will tomorrow. We'll have to check the news.
So, additionally, Young said she was disappointed that more aldermen did not vote in support of the proposal, but that she did not feel defeated. Quote, there are other ways that this ordinance will move forward in the way that we intended and the way we expect it. I am still very much a champion for myself and other families in the city of Chicago who have had this experience. Shame on city council for not moving forward with this today, but there's still a fight, and I'm going to continue to fight until we receive the results that we're looking for. Now, put your score, get your notepads out to keep score, my friendly viewers, my friends and viewers. The following aldermen, so you can make sure if you live in their ward to vote these jagoffs out. The following aldermen voted against the ordinance. Alderman Nicole Lee of the 11th, Alderman Monique Scott of the 24th, Alderman Ariel Raboyros of the 30th, Alderman Nick Sposato of the 38th, Alderman Samantha Nugent of the 39th, Alderman Anthony Napolitano of the 41st, Alderman Timmy Knucklehead of the 43rd, Alderman Tom Tooney of the 44th. Oh, noted city council villain, Alderman Jim Gardner of the 45th. And surprisingly, my alderman, Deborah Silverstein of the 50th. You know, we have a candidate who I connected with that was canvassing my neighborhood that's running against Alderman Silverstein, and I have an email out to his campaign. This really sheds some light on Alderman Silverstein for me, who lives in her ward, who normally hasn't had many complaints about her in the past, aside from the fact when I learned that the library that she wanted to sell, she was on the board of those that would benefit from the sale of that library. That's the only scandal I've noted. But this sticks out like a sore thumb right now. The following aldermen voted for the measure: Alderman Harry Osterman, Alderman Ray Lopez, Alderman Raymond Lopez, Alderman Derek Curtis, and Alderman Matt Martin. An investigation from the city's inspector general published in January of this year found that officials across multiple city departments mishandled the aftermath of the Chicago Police Department's wrongful raid of Young's home and misled journalists covering the fallout as Lori Lightfoot wanted them to. Now, Mayor Lori Lightfoot blamed the Chicago Department of Law last year after CBS Chicago, which first made the video of the raid public, reported the city attorneys had fought Young's request for body camera footage after the incident. Lightfoot's administration also faced heat for asking a judge to punish Young and her attorney for sharing the video after they acquired it. Can you imagine? This woman's dignity, this woman's safety, her mental health is completely compromised. She and her attorney request the video to share what happened to her. And what is Lori Lightfoot's response? They asked a judge to punish Young and her attorney for sharing the video after they acquired it. That's the kind of cover-up Rahm Emanuel was involved in before the election that he was in after the murder of Laquan McDonald. The fallout ran so deep that Lightfoot asked for the resignation of then Corporation Counsel Mark Flessner in December of 2020. Of course, she didn't take any accountability for this fiasco herself. Wow. What more?
We talked about this when it happened. You probably, if you search for Anjanette Young and Chicago Corner on YouTube or in your archive streams, you should be able to find us talking about this as it had happened, because it's a huge scandal for Lightfoot, and I don't think people should forget it.
Now, should we let's continue with other things our mostly useless city council dropped the ball on this week. As reported by Becky Vivea of Chalk Beach, Chicago, push to get Chicago Public Schools officials to appear regularly at city council fails. Accountability? No. Accountability?
What's that?
Hinky. What does that mean, Vince? Hinky.
Oh, strange.
Weird. Well, why don't you say strange or weird? Or hinky, that has no meaning.
Why we say hinky?
I don't want you guys using words around me that got no meaning.
The measure would have temporarily withheld city money for some school project if CPS officials didn't show up. They rarely appear before aldermen in public meetings now. Why would they? Under the ordinance, the measure would have temporarily withheld city money for certain school projects if Chicago public school officials didn't show up. That turned out to be a deal breaker for many aldermen on the committee, which held a virtual meeting Wednesday. The vote was tied and therefore failed, with 7 voting in favor and 7 voting against. I currently have 3 projects in the hopper, and I don't want to get in the way of my own best interest, said Alderman Susan Sedlowski Garza, a former school counselor and Chicago Teachers Union member. She said quarterly meetings are not a huge ask. Alderman Sophia King, who was running for mayor, put forward the ordinance during a committee meeting after being frustrated with the district's lack of response to her budget questions. The threats of resources being withheld could very easily be waylaid if Chicago Public Schools would just show up, King said, noting that she reached out to District Chief Pedro Martinez quietly and subtly to try to get questions answered about the school district's budget, to no avail. Chuck Swirsky, senior advisor to Martinez, called it a harmful ordinance that would jeopardize school construction and infrastructure projects. If you don't want to jeopardize the school construction and infrastructure projects, then maybe you ought to get your ass in front of city council to answer the questions that they have. It's not a big ask. It's not really that out of order or out of line.
Just one quick question. Chuck Swirsky, the sports guy?
I don't know if
he's a senior advisor to Martinez now.
You might want to research that. I don't know. I just read
it. How many Chuck Swerskis could there possibly be? I mean,
you'd be surprised. There's another Jerry Vasilatos in the United States. He lives in New York.
Oh man, freaking Clone Labs.
All right, so he went on to say, you have our numbers and we answer each time you call. And I mean, no matter what time of day it is, Swirsky said. Now, this is Swirsky who's speaking on behalf of CPS District Chief Pedro Martinez. We wholeheartedly value the genuine relationships and partnerships that we have fostered with city council members, but Chicago Public Schools officials rarely appear before aldermen in public meetings. The Committee on Education and Child Development also rarely meets, despite attempts by council members to call meetings. It was the first time King led a meeting as the vice chair of the Committee on Education and Child Development, which has been without a leader since June, when Alderman Michael Scott Jr. resigned so he could go chase his fortune with, wasn't it as a representative for the production industry over near Cinespace?
Yeah.
Well, he also shuffled his daughter in, I think, to take, was it his daughter or his sister? His sister to take his seat as alderperson. So he could take a job in the private sector.
Okay, really quick.
Go ahead.
really quick here. Not the sports guy. It's this Chuck Swirsky. Totally different dude.
Kind of
Maybe he's a junior. We'll have to check and see if he's related.
a little swarthy looking, but who am I to judge?
Maybe he just didn't shave that day.
Yeah. Mayor Lori Lightfoot has since appointed Scott to the school board and attempted to appoint an ally and bypass King. The discussion comes after a report prepared by the district with help from a consulting firm released last week outlined the costs the city could shift to the school district once it transitions to an elected school board. Can't come soon enough. It outlines hypothetical cost shifts on everything from school construction funding to water bills to summer programs. The city has already started shifting costs to Chicago public schools in 2020, and Kira did a wonderful deep dive on that Tuesday. We were covering the budget, or when she was covering the budget, we were listening and learning. When it started requiring the school district to pay into a city pension fund that covers some school employees. So yeah, they can't force the school board's feet to the fire to show up and answer questions. Okay.
I gotta stretch.
You do that.
Okay.
We'll get the next story ready.
Okay, everybody drink. It's Friday night.
I've just got punched, but
I got a lemon limeade combination. It's delightful.
I haven't eaten since this morning, and I'm really looking forward after the show to be able to go to Shawarma Inn on Lincoln Avenue. They are open till midnight, and grab myself a delicious beef shawarma sandwich. And they've got the best lentil. I wish I could figure out their lentil soup recipe because I'm going broke going over there and buying it all the time. It is that good.
Yeah, shawarma, that's good stuff. Yeah, there's a place by me called Pie High. They make shawarma pizza. It's awesome.
That sounds really interesting. I've never imagined shawarma could be crossbred with pizza.
Oh, they found a way, Jerry. They found the way. It's delightful.
So
they want to sponsor us.
Yeah, if they want to sponsor us, we're here. We're here, please.
Hi.
So one of the accounts I follow on Twitter, I love this account. It's the Chicago Contrarian, and they wonder. Let me see if I can make this larger. That's what she said. Oh, there we go. So they wonder, what is the probability Governor Pritzker endorses Representative Chuy Garcia once Garcia enters Chicago's mayoral race? Whoa. Come on. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Pretty high, we hear. The ease with which Pritzker could sell out Chicago mayor for Garcia is actually amusing. Very much so.
He's Pritzker, he's a party guy, and I don't just mean he likes to party. I'm saying, if Team Blue wants Chuy next in line, then Pritzker, that's an easy choice for him. Yeah. I mean, he's basically tolerating Lightfoot at this point.
I would say that's a really good way to put it. Yeah. Given what a clown she is. What was it? I had seen some. Let me pull this up on my phone really quickly. I had sent myself a text earlier that had some funny shit that I found. Where was it? Oh no, this is for the later story. Okay, I'll reference that later. But speaking of our Governor Pritzker, who won re-election this week, a lot of people are wondering how soon he's getting ready to jump ship of Illinois to jump ship potentially into the Oval Office in Washington. This came to us from Chicago Tribune. Rick Pearson, Dan Petrella, and Jeremy Gorner. Governor J.B. Pritzker's victory speech spurs presidential speculation. Again, I can't thank our friend of the show, Shane Coughlin, enough from Kerberos Media in New York for sharing with us several weeks back how the Democratic Party is looking to basically shuffle players around the board. He just won re-election, right? The presidential race is in 2 years. If he were to run for president, that means he would be jumping ship from being governor for higher aspiration over there if Biden chooses not to run. It's just like, hey, man, what's best for me?
How long's the governor term? Is it 4?
I think it's at least, it's got to be at least 4. Yeah.
At least 4. So then he would, if he were to start to, if he choose to run, and we're talking hypothetical stuff here, that would mean the lieutenant governor would take over, or would they have a special election?
Good question. Something we should research. It just, I'm not a huge. I mean, I'm somewhat critical of Pritzker on a few things, but he was certainly. We've had much worse, especially with Rauner preceding him. And
I'm like, if it has to be a billionaire, he was one of the least worst.
Right. He was one of the lesser reviled ones. But when he claimed victory Tuesday night over a vanquished Republican, Darren Bailey, by the way, have you seen the notifications on Facebook? I was, how during a disaster people will use that marked safe from hurricane.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So everybody, I found mine. I was marked safe from Darren Bailey this week. I guess Tulsi Gabbard's endorsement really didn't stand for much, did it?
I don't know, what the hell was she thinking to endorse him in the first place?
Dude, she's sending out dog whistles to the entire extreme right wing, the entire extreme flank of the conservative party, not the normal.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with her. I mean, if she's going to go on TV and call out all the other duopoly clowns, fine. But at this point, I mean, any dwindling support that I may have had for her at one time is gone.
Yeah, I was actually quite. I was impressed when she went on Joe Rogan's show after she abandoned the Democratic Party and said that she was going to be an independent. Then I tuned into her YouTube show and I thought that I was watching, like Glenn Beck with a wig. As far as how she was everything, God-given rights this, God-given rights that, making claims that the Democratic Party is demonizing the police. No, Tulsi.
Okay.
They're supporting them the same way that the Republicans are. Talking about how the Democrats want to open the borders. No, Tulsi. The borders are as closed, and Biden has been adding to the barriers that Trump was trying to put. They're all the same, man. It's just two heads of the same steak.
Yeah, I mean, all I can see at this point is if she's basically moving her own chess pieces around to see if she can primary versus Trump and beat his ass.
Well, some are speculating she might want to run as a vice presidential candidate if she establishes herself as a rational Republican or a rational conservative. I mean, I don't know right now what chances Trump has. It seems that everybody's jumping all over this DeSantis down in Florida. Can you imagine a DeSantis Gabbard ticket?
No,
Could be formidable.
Look, I don't underestimate the candidates on the red side of the duopoly. I know that there's a very, very good chance that duopoly blue is going to screw this up, especially if they let Melty Joe keep on his path for trying to get reelected.
Yeah.
As his brain deteriorates further.
It's melting. I mean, right before our eyes, every appearance he makes. Somebody had shown, it was Sabby Sabs. She did a great stream, I think it was earlier this week or maybe late last week. I basically caught the segment, but she shared some video of Joe Biden at the debates with Senator Sanders and some video of Biden now. And she's like, the cognitive decline could not be clearer in just 2 years. He was, whatever stimulants they had him on at the debates, they're not powerful enough to keep him as alert and responsive and sharp as he was when Obama positioned things to shove him down our throats and derail what Sanders was trying to do. And it just always leads me to wonder who's pulling the strings. Is it Obama? Like, he's parasailing with Richard Branson while calling into the advisors at the White House to tell Joe what to do to continue his legacy.
Yeah, it's like at first I thought it was the Pentaverate, but I don't think they're evil. I think there's some evil group that works against the Pentaverate. I just don't know their name.
Well, getting back to Pritzker, when he claimed victory over a vanquished Republican Darren Bailey for the second term as Illinois governor, he also presented himself as a possible 2024 candidate for the White House if President Joe Biden opts not to seek a second term or stroke out. In a speech unsparing in its attacks on the GOP with contours that went far beyond Illinois' parochial borders, the billionaire progressive Democrat and Hyatt Hotel heir called himself a warrior ready to take on former I'm sorry, calling himself a warrior just makes me laugh. I've seen warriors who are, if you're going to use the word I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to risk people saying I'm body shaming, because that's not what I intend to do, but get in some shape if you want to claim that label warrior. Ready to take on former Republican President Donald Trump and Trump allies in the years ahead. Quote, here we are, 2 years into cleaning up the wreckage of Donald Trump's presidency, poised to watch this man announce his return to national politics within days, Pritzker said. Maybe, maybe not. Trump didn't get the red wave he expected, and a lot of Republicans are blaming him for it. But
Hey, look there, Jerry, Jack. I was just, I was looking for have you seen my keys? I'm looking, I can't find my, anyway, you guys, you heard of the sumo warriors, right? They're like the biggest warriors I have ever seen, Jack. I mean, Jerry, Jack. Where's my keys again?
Where's my keys? You got to do a little bit of an older voice there.
Yeah, I got it.
Come on, man. Let's do some
I got
push.
to work on that.
That's all right. I mean, the intention was well intentioned.
Yeah, Milton Brain. I can't.
Here we go. Constipational conservative, welcome to the chat. Jerry, your political analysis is worthless. You worshipped Obama and then Sanders, and both made you look foolish. Even Jimmy Dore has admitted their failures. Now you say Pritzker wasn't bad. Let's talk about the appeal of Jimmy Dore to conservatives. They love the fact that Jimmy Dore bashes Democrats, right? While Obama's on the record as claiming that he is literally like a Reagan Democrat. If Obama had been leading back in the 1980s, he would have been like Ronald Reagan. He's embraced the policies of Ronald Reagan. So by that distinction, constipational conservative, if Jimmy Dore is knocking people like Obama because he's essentially leading like Ronald Reagan, wouldn't that mean that Jimmy Dore is also criticizing the platforms of conservatives like Ronald Reagan, which neoliberal Democrats have now adopted? So you can't have it both ways, constipational conservative. I got into this in a text message with him the other day.
I don't understand how you don't know how people can evolve and learn from things over time. You don't just take one position and stick with it forever, even when you learn that you may have been misled or the person who you thought was good ended up being bad. You learn from these things and you move forward. You take account of them. We accept the fact that we were misled and we try to move forward. I'm not sure why you think that we're stuck in Obama and Sanders land when we know that both of them have been huge disappointments for the working class and the poor.
We've moved on. Constipational conservative literally wants to resurrect the dead corpse of Ronald Reagan because he just can't stop looking behind instead of looking ahead.
But Jerry, I can't rail on you about Obama and Bernie if you're mad at them too.
Well, I've made the point many times in the past. I was bamboozled by Obama the first time. Second time when he ran for re-election, I didn't vote for him. And yes, Senator Sanders has been an absolute, utter, heartbreaking disappointment to me. I think that he's very, very weak-willed and very weak-spined in actually standing up to those that have done him wrong twice during the primaries. I don't think that, aside from his recent stance on not standing up behind that letter that the progressives were putting together against the war, which is another huge disappointment for me. But like Ed says, we've evolved. Hell, a month ago, I was talking about my respect for Tulsi Gabbard when she stepped down from the Democratic Party. And now that I'm listening to her podcast, I'm like, nope, she's pulled aside the layer. I see what she's really doing. I feel that she's grifting. I think she's doing everything she can to just serve herself. Because if she wanted to be taken seriously, she should be criticizing not just the Democrats. She should also be criticizing the Republicans, because there's a lot to criticize there. She's positioning herself to run as a Republican, even though, and make millions as a podcaster now, because she knows exactly where, she knows how to dog whistle to the viewers and listeners that will pay attention to her and subscribe to her, make a lot of money that way. Let's see here. It's constant. No, it's not. It's constipational, because you're all stuck. You're just all blocked up, Lou. It's constipational. It's not constitutional. Neither of you have learned. You just bellyache. Tulsi learned. You two whine. No, actually, no. Tulsi should be supporting third-party candidates, Lou. Not embracing the other head of the serpent on the right.
Yeah, she may be identifying as an independent now, but I think, Jerry, you got the nail. You're hitting the nail on the head here. She's maneuvering. She's using all the dog whistles basically to run Republican, or to try and gather that kind of base for herself.
Breaking news: Bobo got voted out. That is awesome. Perhaps she can go back to her ads on those sugar daddy websites and fund the rest of her useless grifting career. I have no doubt that stuff that came out on Bobo was true. She has all the skeletons in her closet while she's telling everybody else how to live their lives. She ended up marrying that guy who exposed himself to her and her friends when she was younger. I mean, she's a hot mess. All right, so Pritzker went on to say, you know why? Because GOP politicians, with the exception of only a few souls, are too cowardly, too simpering to support the best interests of the nation because they're afraid of being called insulting nicknames by a whiny bully, Pritzker said, as he's referencing Trump. The ballroom stage at the Marriott Marquis in Chicago's South Loop before hundreds of supporters is not the same as the platform of a Democratic National Convention, as was the case in 2004 in Boston, when a youthful Illinois state senator delivered the keynote address that propelled Barack Obama to the presidency 4 years later. Pritzker's oratorial skills also lacked the dimension of Obama, but there was little doubt Pritzker's address was aimed at a national audience as Trump looks to announce a presidential bid as early as next week, and Democrats voiced concerns about a second candidacy by the 79-year-old president. The intent of Pritzker's address was evident when he didn't mention the name of his opponent, Bailey, a Trump-endorsed state senator from Xenia, no wonder he's a xenophobe, who mounted a regional and religion-based grassroots candidacy that did little to expand the GOP beyond its base. But Pritzker mentioned Trump twice, as well as twice using the MAGA term, add a T to it, MAGAT, that the former...
I'm so tired of this garbage. You got red MAGA, you got blue MAGA, they're all garbage.
You got the shit
Dump
libs,
the duopoly.
Conservatards.
Hashtag dump the duopoly. Seriously, we got to be done with this. It's getting ridiculous now. If you're getting enough nerve and you're running in the local election, run independent. If you're forced to choose a party in order to be on the ballot, choose the volcano party. I'll be cool with it.
He went on to say, let's see here. Where is it? Okay, here. Pritzker also lashed out at the hold Trump has over the GOP that encourages the spelunkers for misery who feed off the dark fears that people harbor in difficult times. I think he's right about that. Quote, to the fake patriots and their enablers, you don't love the United States if you're not willing to defend it against a man who would destroy it. Donald Trump is the modern embodiment of tyranny that our founders feared the most, Pritzker said. So don't lecture us about norms or typical political practices. Yeah, he's right, but standing up much against the tyrants in your party, Governor Pritzker, not so much.
Yeah.
Against the party that nominates and endorses anti-Semites and racists and anti-immigrant zealots, appeasement and complacency do not work. There's no nice or easy way to say this, but until the Republican Party is ready to expel the extremists in their midst, we need to do it for them at the ballot box. That kind of reminds me of Joe Biden's speech in front of the red background that looked like it was a Nazi rally. So what, Pritzker wants to cancel people instead of just showing how wrong they are by bringing a better argument to the table?
It's just this kayfabe team blue versus team red rhetoric garbage that people eat up when they don't give a crap about politics. They just want to vote for their team.
Yeah.
We have to all try to evolve from that. They're all working for corporations and Wall Street and big pharma and all the companies that are basically sucking all of the money out of your wallet. And we have to put an end to that.
Pritzker has sought to eschew talk of personal interest in the presidency, saying he intends to serve out a second 4-year term and is supporting Biden if the president seeks re-election. Now, he just stated it. It's a 4-year term. I'm not focused on that at all. I'm focused on serving as governor for the next 4 years. We'll see. It's really the most important thing to me. We have a lot of challenges that Illinois needs to overcome, and we've got to work hard on it, and I'll be doing that, Pritzker told reporters on Wednesday. Pritzker said the large scope of his speech was an effort to contrast his values and those of the Democratic Party to those of Trump-supporting Republicans. Yeah, but you know what? Both are the parties of billionaires now. The way that the Democratic Party has abandoned the working class, embraced Wall Street, embraced corporations, embraced the pharmaceutical cartels, embraced the insurance cartels. There's not a whole lot of difference between them. He went on to say, I commit to you that I'm planning to be governor for the next 4 years, adding that he's not spoken to Democratic insiders of any desire to seek the presidency. No, the Democratic insiders are floating trial balloons at events like the one that Shane attended in New York, where they were talking about, what do you guys think about Lori Lightfoot running for governor of Illinois? Even though Pritzker says he's going to stay there for 4 years, only if Joe Biden decides to run again. Oh, God. Still, Pritzker earlier this year was able to embark on trips that encouraged presidential speculation. Pritzker's personal wealth helped finance Bailey as his preferred general election opponent, with more than $30 million in ads that Pritzker and the Democratic Governors Association helped fund, enabling the governor to travel nationally rather than intensely campaign across Illinois. In June, with Bailey clearly becoming the GOP nominee, Pritzker made an East Coast swing that included stops in Massachusetts, Maine, and the traditional early primary state of New Hampshire to support Democratic governor candidates. And this shows what the election results looked like. There's the map. Winner by a margin, 40%, is the blue in Chicago. Look at how much of the vote Pritzker got in Chicago. Interesting. Republican ones are red, less than 40%.
Now, the populations are lower in a lot of those red areas, aren't they, Jerry? So it looks like they took a lot more than maybe they really did.
Funny you should mention that, Ed, because let me pull this down as we transition into our next story regarding the population of Illinois and who's pretty much providing all of the revenue, most of the revenue to keep it running. A story came to us from NBC5 Chicago that is loading. You saw that? We saw this map here. Let me actually bring it up one more time before the image changes. I hope okay. So there's that map. Now, 3 downstate counties. Why isn't this thing loading? I'm sorry, guys. Hang on a second. Let me. I hate having something on screen there when we're not getting the story loaded that we wanna share. Hang on. I don't have that many windows up either, and I restarted my computer. Do you have the show notes up, Ed? That you
I do.
up? Okay, it's from NBC5 Chicago. It's about the 3 downstate counties voting to explore seceding from Illinois. There we go. I got it. It's loading now. All right. So, speaking of how those gubernatorial election results looked on that map, there are 3 downstate counties that are voting to explore seceding from Illinois, forming a new state. Now, look at these 3 counties. Look at how far apart they are from each other that they want to potentially secede and form a new state. I think it's hilarious. Let's play the video.
There's an ad.
I bet there's going to be an ad. Yeah.
Right now,
of course there
at
is. The furniture. All right. Let's wait for that to pass.
I got it.
Okay. You got it? Cool.
3 Illinois counties just passed non-binding resolutions to explore seceding from the state. Separation referendums passed in Brown and Hardin counties on Tuesday, as well as a portion of Madison County. The resolutions empower the county boards to explore the possibility of seceding from the state of Illinois due to, they say, the influence of Chicago and Cook County on the state's political decisions. For more information on how this all works, check out our article on NBCChicago.com.
Apparently, they're not paying attention to what's happening downstate with characters like Madigan and the rest of the elected representatives from across the state and their influence on what's happening statewide. It's not just Chicago. So let me get into the article here. Sorry, I was getting the other one queued up. But from the down, okay, so what it says is, I'm scrolling down here. Stand by, everybody. Sorry. Okay. Illinois residents wanting to separate their communities from Chicago and Cook County is nothing new in the political world. But 3 counties took things one step further during the midterm elections, passing non-binding resolutions indicating that they want their elected officials to potentially explore seceding from the state. These so-called separation referendums were on the ballot in Brown and Hardin counties, as well as a portion of Madison County. The thrust behind the referendums was to allow the county board of each area to coordinate with other county boards to explore the possibility of seceding from Illinois due to the influence of Chicago and Cook County have on the state's political decisions, as the report said. Brown County, located in western Illinois, voted overwhelmingly in favor of the non-binding ballot question, with nearly 3 in 4 voters approving it. Shall the board of Brown County correspond with the boards of the other counties of Illinois outside of Cook County about the possibility of separating from Cook County to form a new state and to seek admission to the union as such, subject to the approval of the people? The question read. Ed, can you scroll to where that map is again? I just think it's hilarious. These 3 little counties. Oh, do you have it? These 3, yeah, they're going to form one state. How many hundreds of miles away from each other?
Too many. That's What are they going to call it? Illinois Junior, Illinois Junior Junior, and Illinois Junior the Third?
Illinois. What is it? Okay, so we've got squared, we've got cubed. What is it 3 times? Math term.
Oh, wait, cubed is 3 times.
Okay, Illinois cubed. That's what it is. Illinois cubed. That's what we'll call them. Illinois cubed.
What they want to come.
Go ahead.
Are they combining into one state, or do they want to be 3 more additional states?
I don't think that they've even figured it out, because the voters in Illinois cubed are blockheads, as you can see because cube is like a block, even though it means 3. I mean, I was never good at math. Shall the board of Brown County
solid.
Okay. Shall the board of Brown County correspond with the boards of the other counties of Illinois outside of Cook County about the possibility of separating from Cook County to form a new state and to seek admission to the union as such, subject to the approval of the people? With all 14 precincts reporting in Brown County, 1,444 votes were cast in favor of the question, representing 74% of the votes cast on that specific question. 441 votes were opposed to such a meeting. That's a little under 2,000. living in that area anyway that want to form their own state. Hardin County, located in southeastern Illinois, also voted on a similar measure and passed it. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the county has a population of 3,649 residents, making it the least populated county in the state. Finally, in northeastern Madison County, 74.74% of the vote went to the yes column, with 213 of 285 ballots cast in favor of meeting with other county boards. Madison County is located along the Mississippi River in southwestern Illinois. I just thought this story made me laugh.
Yeah, it's hysterical. We got two cities there, two counties there. One of them's bordering Kentucky, one of them's bordering Missouri, and the other one is landlocked in the middle of the state. So, like Madison County, it could try to become part of Missouri. Hardin County could try to be part of Kentucky. Or failing that, become the most southern tip of Indiana somehow. Brown County, what you gonna do, man?
You know, I saw a constipational conservative on Facebook calling for the fact that the only solution in America right now is for the country to split into two new countries. And I encouraged him to move down south. And when he says Constitutionalityville, constitutional conservative, there's your new home. Look down there. There it is. Go down there. If you don't like Chicago, there you go.
Civil War II electric boogaloo. What? We splitting on the Mason-Dixon again? I think some people are going to have a problem with that.
All right, Ed, for those of you who have stayed with us to this point, I have a very, very special treat for you as we transition into our next story regarding the fact that NASCAR tickets are now on sale here in Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news. For our viewers, a very special preview of what to expect.
Ooh, I'm excited.
What to expect when NASCAR comes to Chicago next year, because Lori Lightfoot has pretty much made it what's the word? She is determined. She has ruled. It's a done deal. Okay, are y'all ready? Fasten your seatbelts for the preview of next year's Chicago NASCAR. Enjoy.
Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive.
Shining with a heavenly grace, help you right on by. There ain't no road just like it, anywhere I find.
Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive. Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive.
Sometimes you can smell the green if your mind is feeling fine. There ain't no finer place to be.
Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive. Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive. Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive.
slipping on my own LSD, riding that trouble around.
Watch the tube.
Friday night and you're looking through the early to start the rounds. 10 minute ride from the Gold Coast back makes you show your pleasure bound. And it's 4 o'clock in the morning and all the people have gone away. Just you and your mind.
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
Tomorrow is another day, and the sun shines fine in the morning time. Tomorrow is another day.
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
That was my love letter to NASCAR.
Gentlemen, start your engines! Yes! Yes! That was awesome!
Now, in those videos, you saw the kind of...
Seriously.
Can I tell you how much I love editing? I spent my whole afternoon putting that together. Thanks to the clips that you shared with me, too.
I was like, oh my God, Jerry, you guys see these things. And then, of course, I knew Jerry was going to throw some Blues Brothers in there. I'm like, yes!
So you see the
we got to watch that
roadways.
again at the end of the show, though.
Oh, that's a deal.
Definitely.
You see the sizes and dimensions of the raceways where all the pileups are happening anyway. Does Lakeshore Drive, Columbus Drive, any part of downtown look like it's built to accommodate the type of speed and hairpin turns that need to accommodate these race cars? Of course not. So I was very inspired to show what we're probably going to see with all of the pileups, property damage, hopefully not major loss of life. But yeah, that's what's to come, and that's what our mayor thinks is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, just the possibility of where the hell are they putting all those impact walls in there? They're going to be good enough.
And who's paying for it, Ed?
Yeah.
Who's paying for it? Anjanette Young is talking to city council about passing, an ordinance that's going to protect citizens, and Lightfoot has no comment. This is all she's focused on. Re-election, pandering and hijinks, deflection. Look over here. We're going to have NASCAR. You're going to see cars going fast. Hopefully you'll see some car crashes. That will make it even more exciting. How can you not expect that? It's just a disaster waiting to happen. But tickets are on sale. They went on sale yesterday. While general admission tickets have yet to be released, reserved seating, hospitality, experience packages all went on sale Thursday. I would not be caught dead anywhere nearby NASCAR next year during the week of 4th of July.
No, but it's definitely must-see television, though, Jerry. I'm
sure it will be. 2-day reserved seats start at $465. I mean, your average Chicagoan is going to be able to afford and enjoy that, right?
That's like 10 pizzas, Jerry.
Dude,
3,000. Okay, maybe 11.
Maybe they'll include the pizzas. Well, maybe not. No, not with the reserved seats. But you know where you probably can expect the pizzas, Ed? In the $3,377 hospitality suites, dubbed the President's Paddock Club, according to the event's website. Reserved tickets can be purchased on the NASCAR. I'm not even going to say the website or the phone number because I don't want you buying them. You can go look for that information yourself. The event is also offering up payment plan options for those looking to go into debt. Payment plans for those looking to purchase the first round of ticket options. The two options include a 50-50 payment, with the first payment being made right away and a second on April 7th. A monthly plan option is also available, where ticket holders will pay a 15% down payment to start and monthly payments through April 7th. You'd think some people are buying a fucking house with the way they're trying to wrangle people into this. The event is on track.
Well, Jerry, I'm sorry to interrupt, Jerry, but if we have such a great success, as I know we will with this race and my re-election, I'm probably just going to get voted mayor for life after this. And then we'll just, we'll have like a subscription plan for the NASCAR race. You can just pay like monthly out of your dwindling wallets, so that I can keep saying, gentlemen, start your engines, and we can keep doing nothing for the rest of you.
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
That came out wrong. Gotta go.
So the event is on track to hit the city, puns intended, 4th of July weekend in 2023, with Xfinity Series taking place on Saturday, July 1st, and the Cup Series unfolding Sunday, July 2nd. Right in time to congest the lakefront from an already congested holiday weekend. The 12 turn.
Usually that's Taste of Chicago time plus 4th of July weekend.
Wait, Taste will be happening at the same time, right? Will it?
If they're doing it. And who's the brain genius who said this would be the perfect time to do this race?
How is anybody going to fucking get to Taste of Chicago or Navy Pier for the fireworks? Oh my God. It's going to be a fucking congestion nightmare laden with car crashes, disaster. I hope I'm wrong. But I'm just imagining like the disaster to come with this. The 12-turn, 2.2-mile street course will weave through Chicago staples like Michigan Avenue, Buckingham Fountain, Cloud Gate, and Soldier Field. You know what? Let's take one more look at how that's all going to look.
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
Shining with a heavenly grace, come you right on by. There ain't no road just like it, anywhere I find.
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
Sometimes you can smell the green if your mind is feeling fine. There ain't no finer place to be.
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
Just slipping on by on the other street, right at the trouble around.
Watch the two.
All right. I'm loving the comments in the live chat. And by the way, Constitutional Conservative, thanks a lot for the $20 super chat. You know, I'm glad Daniel's going to be getting all the super chats from YouTube while nobody's donating anything on Rokfin that goes to us. But I digress. Anyway, every bit is appreciated. Yeah, so that's it on NASCAR, everybody. Art had an interesting
we should.
comment. Month before the event, for safety concerns, full NASCAR refund all ticket buyers and a big embarrassment for life. We can only hope that will happen, Art. I really do hope that's what ends up happening. Because I think that the safety issues are going to be crazy.
I should bring up that some of the footage that you saw in there that was brilliantly cut together by Jerry came from a real video game called Grid 2. They used to be able to play it on the Steam platform, and I think it's still available in some of the other regular video game platforms. They took it down off Steam in 2019. But yeah, you literally could race your car in a Chicago-style street race around the city. And so it was pretty interesting to see that they've been trying to do this for quite some time. And I'm thinking maybe they were planning this for a while. Maybe even Rom was thinking about it, and Lori finally had the chance to try and do it.
Yeah. The casinos that Daly wanted in, and the potential NASCAR that Ron may have wanted in, Lightfoot's cashing in on all of it. And by the way, Kathy, thank you for the $1 super chat. I'm going to give you the deluxe Lori treatment, Kathy.
You dicks, what the fuck were you thinking? You make some kind of secret agreement with the Italians. You're out there measuring your dicks with the Italians, seeing who's got the biggest dicks. You're out there stroking your dicks over the Columbus statue. My dick is bigger than yours and the Italians. I have the biggest dick in Chicago.
There you go, Kathy. There's your Lori lightweight fix. Oh, so yeah, that's
Leadfoot. Lori, she's Lori Leadfoot.
Lori Leadfoot. That's right. When it comes to right. Thank you for the correction. God, I've got 3 more stories here. You know what? Do we want to? It's 8:58. Do we want to start paring down what we're going to talk about?
Okay. Let's see.
I know that the ghost trains story is important, but I think everybody's following it. The CTA needs 1,000 workers as it struggles with ghost trains and buses, the transit boss says. What I felt was really an interesting story that I'm going to jump to, and that I'm going to parse this with. First of all, let me bring the story up. Stand by, everybody. Ooh, after all that noise, it's suddenly very silent. Okay. So the Chicago Tribune reported on this first, claiming that apparently there was some people on a bus goose-stepping and giving Nazi salutes, anti-Semitic comments in a bus. However, and that was reported by the Tribune. Thankfully, that was the story I was going to report on, but Laney brought to my attention a follow-up on the story from the Chicago Tribune. And I'm sorry, from the Sun-Times. Thank you. And I'm going to read from the article as it came up here from the Sun-Times. First, it was, okay, so here's what happened. Rabbi, review of video shows no anti-Semitic slurs were yelled at bus carrying Jewish grade school children in West Rogers Park. This is reported by Sophie Sherry at the Sun-Times. Nobody came onto the bus. There were no anti-Semitic slurs, said Rabbi Nassim Muller. Nothing of the sort. We watched the video multiple times. The principal of a Jewish grade school in West Rogers Park said Friday that video and interviews do not support allegations that someone yelled anti-Semitic slurs and gave the Hitler salute at a bus carrying students earlier this week. Nobody came onto the bus. There were no anti-Semitic slurs, said Rabbi Nassim Muller. Nothing of the sort. We watched the video multiple times. What did happen, Muller said, is that a man on the street in the 2800th block of Jerome Street became upset when some of the children on a bus began yelling at him Wednesday afternoon. Little kids do at the end of the day. So he stood in front of the bus and he asked the driver to open the door. Muller said the driver should not have opened the door, that's for sure. But he didn't even put one step into the bus. He just threw out some profanity. Nothing happened, just an upset individual. On Thursday, the Simon Wiesenthal Center, a worldwide human rights organization, said it had been told by parents that someone got on the bus and yelled slurs and gave the Hitler salute. The parents called, which would have been bad, given the fact we saw a student goose-stepping at Jones last week at Halloween in full German officer uniform, right? which is why it was easier for people to potentially believe this story. Now, the parents called 311, prompting a police investigation, according to the center, which said it had been told by police they were conducting a hate crime investigation. When the Simon Wiesenthal Center went to press with the story and released the statement, this was verified by two parents who filed police reports based on what their sons had experienced, the center said in a statement Friday. In addition, the Simon Wiesenthal Center spoke to two detectives and an officer in the police department who were investigating the students' allegations. It said, "We were told that this was a hate crime." Later in the day, the school released a statement refuting what the children had reported. The center's initial fear was that the incident was somehow related to the anniversary of Kristallnacht on November 9th, 1938, when violent anti-Jewish demonstrations broke out across Germany, Australia, and Czechoslovakia. The Chicago Commission on Human Resources recently reported that hate crimes targeting Jews were up 75% in Chicago. In a letter to parents, the school acknowledged there's been an increase in anti-Semitism recently, and we're all concerned about this. However, this occurrence was not one of anti-Semitism. The spread of misinformation is simply due to irresponsible reporting.
And maybe two lying-ass kids.
Yeah. Law enforcement sources confirmed getting a 311 call from a parent saying slurs have been yelled at the students, but the police department has so far not said what its investigation found. It has said only that someone stood in front of the bus, forcing it to stop, then entered and threatened to harm a 12-year-old boy. The police have no other details, including a description of the man. No arrests have been reported. So it's interesting to see. I mean, look, we've seen this happen in the past, and yeah, my first inclination was to think that some other knucklehead decided it was a good idea to get onto a bus and terrorize kids with anti-Semitism, as we saw at Jones Prep. What was it, a week ago? 2 weeks ago?
Halloween-ish time.
Yeah, Halloween time. Now, what made this particular story interesting, though, in context, is another story that I'm trying to open up here that came across my radar.
That one.
Yeah. I'm going to make a connection here. And there's another window I'm desperately trying to open up because I saw some really funny comments on Reddit about this. I guess maybe I'll read them from my phone. So forgive me, everybody. Okay, here we go. So also reported this week, when we're talking about the potential spread of misinformation and how quick people are to judge what something might be and what it might not be. Stand by. You know, even though I've got few windows open. Okay, here we go. You saw this story, right, Ed?
Yeah, I heard. They reported it on the radio too.
As the possibility of anti-Semitism against those kids was horrible to consider, and I'm glad that's not what it was. The news ran with this, and not only did they, well, you'll see what is particularly, I just think, astounding about the story. Work halted at the Obama Presidential Center after a noose is found. This came from A.D. Quigg and Shanza Ahmad at the Chicago Tribune. Foundation officials are condemning a shameless act of cowardice and hate at the site of former President Barack Obama's Presidential Center in Jackson Park on Thursday morning. Officials said a noose was discovered at the project site and construction had been halted because they found a noose, or what looks like a noose. We reported the incident to the police and will provide any assistance required to identify those responsible. Lakeside Alliance, the construction team building the center. I'm just going to read from the story while the page loads. Lakeside Alliance, the construction team building the center, said in an emailed release, "We have zero tolerance for any form of bias or hate on our work site. Anti-bias training is included in our onboarding process." The page just jumped. Hang on a second, guys. Our onboarding process.
I got it up if you want me to keep
and
reading.
Reiterated. No, it's what I was reading. The page is moving around, and reiterated during site-wide meetings. We are suspending all operations on site in order to provide another series of these trainings and conversations for all staff and workers. The statement said. Am I buffering over there?
I don't think so.
Okay. The Chicago Police Department is aware of this matter and it's under investigation, according to Sergeant Rocco Aliato, a spokesman. Foundation officials have said the museum will pay tribute to Obama's legacy as the first black president and his endeavor to economically uplift the neighboring majority black South Side. Lakeside Alliance is a joint venture between 4 African-American firms, blah, 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 blah. Okay. As the sun was starting to set on the work site, a Chicago police officer pulled up outside one of the 5 entrances to the Obama Center construction zone off South Stony Island Avenue, waited for a few minutes to be let inside, and then met with a couple of workers on site. One of the workers handed the officer a white bag with what appeared to be a rope inside. The officer came back outside of the center perimeter, put the bag in his squad car, and drove off. Rico Pineda, 29, is leading the team of workers that have been posted outside of the Obama Center perimeter for about 2 months now to install a water line, he said. Pineda heard about the situation from other workers. The first thing I thought was, man, that's messed up, Pineda said. There's still racism going around, even with a union job. This job is guaranteed to the workers inside until 2025. Why risk that? The workers inside were all told to go home, but no one seemed to have a clear idea as to how long they would be off site. They don't want locals who they've hired to work to fear their life is in danger, Pineda said. They said everything is shut down until they actually find out what happened. It could take a week, a month, however long it takes to make the people feel safe. Pineda wondered who could have done such a thing and added that the 5 entrance points are heavily secured and there are also security cameras along the perimeter. All right, the article goes on and on and on, but now what I'm not finding in the article, and I guess I found this information later, they're offering like did I share in the Slack? Was it $100,000 reward?
That's what it said at the top of the story.
Yeah. They're offering $100,000 reward for information on who left the noose at the Obama site. Now, look, if someone left a noose there, it's horrible. But as we saw in the other story, and I'm not saying that this is a false story that they're reporting from the Obama site, but look how quickly the facts came out in the story of the kids on the bus and the anti-Semitism. Within a day, it was clarified and corrected. So I found some really fun comments on Reddit related to this that I want to share. First one is, where was Kanye last night? Have they checked on the whereabouts of that French actor, Juicy Smollett?
Okay, I get that.
Investigators later determined it was placed there at 3 a.m. on a 12-degree Wednesday night in February by 2 white males wearing MAGA hats. A source close to Bubba Wallace denied reports that the NASCAR driver was recently seen at the construction site. Somebody wanted a longer weekend since all work stopped. All right, so we're making light of it, but I thought that the Juicy Smollett comments were most relevant given the details regarding, Juicy Smollett's encounter with the MAGA guys in the MAGA hats with the noose, who just happened to be walking down the street with bleach in the middle of the night. Two white MAGA guys who apparently watched Empire, recognized him, put a noose around his neck, and I don't know, Ed. I mean,
no.
This story is like weird. Look. If somebody left a noose there, it should not be tolerated. $100,000 reward and stopping work, and all of the press that accompanies this. Is it wrong for me to speculate?
No, Jerry.
Hinky. Well, what does that mean, Vince? Hinky. Oh, strange. Weird. Well, don't you say strange or weird? I mean, hinky, that has no meaning.
We say hinky.
I don't want you guys using words when I got no meaning.
It's not, it just, my BS alarm went off when I heard about this story. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I mean, yeah, it could have happened. There are racists in the city. No doubt. But why, I'm trying to think, okay, what would be the purpose of doing this, setup? Is it for identity politics' sake, for politics?
What if a workman did a rope there to pull something and someone's thought it was a noose?
Yeah, I mean,
right?
some
That's
guy
not an uncommon rope tie. That's not an
I
uncommon.
mean,
rope.
I don't know what kind of equipment that they have to set up over there, and whether ropes are involved in any type of pulley system. But you know, they do have construction equipment that has to move stuff around. I mean, I'm not to belittle the possibility that it seriously could just be some jerk ass who left it there to intimidate or scare people.
Well,
But
no one's lives are in danger, though. Okay, let's shut it. A noose is found, so
What-
that means what? There's going to be like some serial killer or mass killer there that's suddenly going to like start targeting the workers. That they're going to shut it down and offer a $100,000 reward. Come on.
now here's I'm trying to complete my thoughts here. It's still kind of forming, but no, it's not your fault. It's just my brain has to get there. It's like it kind of feels like, you know, there had been a lot of bad press and a lot of bad sentiment toward the actual building of this presidential center in the location where it is, because they took public parkland in order to do it. And the organization that I think has been trying, one of the organizations has been trying to stop it, lost their latest appeal. So someone could be trying to do one of those situations where they make it look like something awful happened, so you go to the defense of the presidential center. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're like, oh yeah, they're super racist. We got to get behind President Obama and his presidential center, and anybody who doesn't is a jerk face. So that's where my brain goes. Yeah. It's like I wanna take things at face value, but having been on this planet for half a century, I can't do that anymore. Too many people have pulled the wool over our eyes and lied to us about too many things.
We have
usually it's politics.
We have very sensitive and finely attuned bullshit meters. Art raises a good comment in the chat. How much you want to bet it wasn't a noose? It was probably a utility cord wrapped a certain way and someone just doesn't know better. Maybe. Kathy Powers, why not? We blame her for everything else. Oh, wow.
Oh, you found my extension cord.
Mike Anderson. Thank you, Mike. I'm glad you found me tonight, a professional colleague, and I'm very, very happy that you're enjoying the show. You can see what I do on the side when I'm not producing content or developing movie projects. Kathy Powers comments, Lori did it. She saw her. Art shared, and I shared this a moment ago. No one will collect it because it's either a misunderstanding or a bunch of stupid kids trying to be racist. Or Art also shared, how much you want to bet the police already know who did it, but they want to see who wants to collect on a reward because it would mean they were involved too. And constitutional,
or they called them, I'm sorry, before we get into him, or they called the police and say, hey guys, you want to come and pick up one of the nooses you left here?
Constitutional conservative shares, isn't it possible the rope is used to do work given it's a work site? $1,000 for a rope, yet we can't solve a fucking murder. And yes, Kathy, it is the most racist symbol there is, which is why we're wondering with our finely tuned bullshit meters, with all the other stuff we see and all the other stuff that's ended up being proven differently, like the alleged anti-Semites on the bus and Juicy Smollier, the famous French thespian. Is it possible there's some just political public relations motivation here? We don't know. In any event, if someone did leave a noose there, it's intolerable. But $100,000 to figure out who left it and shutting down the work, I think is like going a little overboard personally. So yeah, that's was an entertaining story within context of the story of the alleged anti-Semite on the bus. And I thought it was funny that both stories were in the same week to kind of compare and contrast. All right, rounding into our last stories of the evening. This kind of made me chuckle. As soon as the Twitter page loads, I will share what I'm reading here. Oh, what the hell? I'll just start reading it. From John Seidel on Twitter. In a just filed motion, Lawyers for indicted Chicago alderman. Thank you, Ed. You got it there? Lawyers for indicted Chicago alderman Carrie Austin say they believe she is not medically fit to stand trial and that they plan to seek a stay of the proceedings against her. She was fit to engage in corruption, but now that the bill is coming due, she's not fit to go show up in trial and answer for her corruption and in any way be held accountable. Further on in the Twitter thread, of course, she isn't. Commit her for life then. As we were talking earlier in the show about how the aldermen were not interested in doing anything with the ordinance that Anjanette Young brought forth before them, is this not a better, perfect example of the privilege that our aldermen seem to think that they are entitled to when it comes to law, when it comes to due process, that the rest of us aren't allowed? She's not medically fit to stand trial. Please, we need to seek a stay of proceedings against her. Kathy says she does keep having heart attacks. Well, I'm very sorry for her, Kathy, but
Retired.
Perhaps she should have thought of that. Yeah, perhaps she should have retired and not. What was the charge against her? She was
some kind of corruption charge.
Yeah, it had to do with it was financial. Let me look it up real quick. I can't keep track with all of the different crimes our aldermen are regularly engaged in. Carrie Austin. I got it. Carrie Austin's charges. Okay, Austin, 72 of Chicago, is charged with 1 count of conspiring to use interstate facilities to promote bribery, 2 counts of using interstate facilities to promote bribery, and 1 count of willfully making materially false statements to the FBI. Do you think if any of us were accused of that or charged with that, we could have our lawyers, we're not medically fit to stand trial, so let's just dismiss the proceedings? I don't think so.
I mean, they could try.
We wouldn't have the money to afford lawyers like that, Ed.
That's true.
That's the problem. All right. So as I always like to try to finish the show on a positive note, I wasn't able to find a whole lot positive this week to share other than some wonderful events that if you are so inclined, you can participate in this weekend if you're looking for some distractions from all the shenanigans and nonsense and hijinks from the rest of the week that we report on here. And this comes to us from our favorite news reporting site, Block Club Chicago. 19 things to do in Chicago this weekend: antique holiday market, drag brunch, and home movies from the South Side. Lean Yassin compiled this list for us. I'm just going to go through it real quickly. Shop for the holidays at one of the city's many seasonal markets. Taste vegan bites at a night mercado experience. At a night mercado, experience The Godfather at a Chicago Philharmonic concert, and more. Portage Park is having a Veterans Day event on Saturday. All of this is linked in the show notes below. City News Cafe at 4018 North Cicero Avenue is holding a day of remembrance for those who've served in any of the armed forces with photographs, music, and stories. The Chicago Antique Holiday Market. Oh, there's the Block Club Chicago subscription request. Is being held Saturday and Sunday at 1341 West Randolph Street. This European-style antique and vintage market returns this weekend with housewares, fashions, decorative objects, and more than 125 vendors. Third Space Artisan Market. That's at 716 West Addison, noon, Saturday and Sunday. There will be 15 vendors selling ceramics, skin and body care, candles, handbags, jewelry, plant accessories, henna, tacos, and more, right in time for the holidays. There's a Veterans Day commemoration ceremony. That will be at Soldier Field. That was today. It started
today. We missed that.
I missed that. South Side Home Movie Day. Green Line
tomorrow.
Performing Arts Center tomorrow. There will be pop-up family portraits, food and drinks, a DJ, merchandise, and more at the celebration of Southside Home Movies. That's nice. Bring your home movies to share with everybody. The Godfather with the Chicago Philharmonic, 8 to 11 p.m. Saturday, Auditorium Theater. Tickets starting at $70. I wish I could afford to go tomorrow night, but The lazy 0.5K. While event organizers don't encourage running, you can briskly walk 0.31 miles from a bar to a park and back to the bar in this lazy 0.5K. That's at 1725 West Cortland. Buena Vegan Social Club Vegan Nights. That's at the Laws Brewing and Tap Room on Carpenter Street. That was last night. You missed that. Pullman Conscious Revitalization of the Overlooked. An exhibition opens at 10 a.m. Saturday. Chicago Cultural Center's latest free visual art exhibition by Chicago-based architect Armel Sagboden opens Saturday. Mamma Mia Drag Brunch. This sounds fun. The Walnut Room. This Mamma Mia Drag Brunch features Lucy Stool, Mrs. Kasha Davis, Anya Deek, and Abhijit. I have no idea who any of them are, but it's Saturday at the Walnut Room on State Street. Harry Styles mini pop-up. I'm just going to scroll through these really quickly because you can get the details in the show notes below. The Donk House Flow Market, Latinx Music and Art Showcase. I hear Hispanic people hate that phrase, Latinx. What do you hear? What's the latest on that?
Well, since I'm not in that identity group, I couldn't tell you, but I think they have mixed opinions on it. Most of
Art, are you still in the chat?
Call us what we are.
Right. Call and response. Art exhibition, Wrigleyville Bar Crawl. Friendsgiving college party. I'm going to a Friendsgiving with my friends after Thanksgiving. We all get together, bring food. It's like a potluck. We all bring food and celebrate Friendsgiving after we have Thanksgiving with our families. It's always a nice holiday tradition. Get your friends together for that. The Holiday Tree Lighting Fest. There will be musical performances with Santa and Mrs. Claus. That's at 1457 North Halsted Street. The 18th Annual Lacey French Market, Italy's Holiday Market. I guess that's all 19 events that are happening. Also, we are still working on the details. Okay, Art, what's the opinion amongst you and your fellow Hispanic friends and family regarding Latinx? That's my question. Because I've seen there's like a lot of controversy regarding that term being bandied around by a lot of white neoliberals, but just curious. Oh, so what was I going to say? So we are hopefully close to announcing an event that will take place December 23rd, the night before Christmas Eve, where Chicago Corner will be hosting a canned food drive, much in the tradition of our dearly departed Ed Schwartz, who used to be an overnight mainstay at WGN Radio. He used to have a yearly food drive at the holidays down at Daily Plaza. What we're hoping to put together, and we're just finalizing the details, is a canned food drive where not only can you come by and drop off food for the Greater Chicago Food Depository to help people during the holidays, you'll be able to enjoy a screening of my Christmas movie on a double bill with another Christmas movie. I can't announce the venue. I cannot yet announce the other Christmas movie because they're still working out details to license it from the distributor. But hopefully, and Ed, we'll talk about this tomorrow with Kira, how we're going to promote this and try to get people out the night before Christmas. You will also be able to bring Toys for Tots, although I know that they're going to be delivering toys to kids probably before that date. They still always take extra toy donations. We want to use this screening as a way for everybody to get together in the spirit of goodwill, coming together after the holidays, coming together after the pandemic, enjoying a holiday movie and being able to do some good, bringing some donations for those who are less fortunate. So details to come. I'm excited. I hope that we can lock things down and get that announcement out soon, but tentatively mark your calendars, December 23rd. It's a Friday night. And if all goes well, we will be live streaming from the venue as well for at least a half hour or an hour before the festivities begin. Okay, so Art responds, we absolutely don't get the whole Latinx thing. It's something I'm personally ignoring, but I do see the Hispanic community embracing the term. Okay, that's cool. I mean, yeah, none of us of fair skin have any right to question it, but I just refer to my Hispanic friends as Hispanic. The whole Latinx thing, I don't know, it just seemed like an identity politic thing that elected representatives are throwing around to pander to people, but whatever. And yes, Art, This sad news came to us today. We lost a Batman. Kevin Conroy, the actor who is most famously known for voicing Bruce Wayne and Batman on the Batman animated series, as well as several animated films, as well as the Arkham video game series, did pass away today from cancer. He was 66 years old. It's a sad loss to Batman enthusiasts and fans of Mr. Conroy's work. It's sad, but sadly, Mr. Conroy had cancer. It happens. We will mourn his loss. He's now, I think, the second actor in recent public memory after Adam West that had responsibilities portraying the character that we've lost. So, Art, thanks for that reminder. And Art also does mention regarding the Latinx issue, it's just more labeling for certain expression of categorizing people. So, Art, I'm sorry. Ed, do you want to bring up what you shared in the private chat? I just saw that.
Oh, I did have a thing. It was a toss up between playing a thing about the Moldorama or a clip from Kevin Conroy.
Why not do both?
Okay. Well, let's start with the man.
If you were a kid back in the 90s and early 2000s, then chances are you were probably watching the animated series about the Batman. Behind every great animated hero is a great voice actor. And for me, that actor is Kevin Conroy.
There he is.
How's that?
That was good, Kevin. Keep going.
That was good.
He had good pipes. And he was also an actor.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't just do voiceover. He also was a performer earlier in his career.
And I like that he actually got to play Batman on the CW series when they did the Crisis thing. So that was, so at least he got that in before he kicked. Yeah.
Art says Conroy went to school with Chris Reeves and Robin Williams, two other great performers gone too soon. All of them gone too soon. I'm noticing, how quickly the years are passing, Ed, as all of the actors and actresses I worshipped growing up watching movies are passing. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, we lost Gallagher, the guy who used to smash watermelons on stage, the comedian. He just died today too.
I saw that too. All right, so let's close on something maybe a little bit more a little bit brighter with the mold.
A little more. Yeah, sure. Yeah, because I had mentioned it in previous show. The Museum of Science and Industry now has a Moldorama exhibit. So let's see what Fox 32 had to say about it.
The beloved retro machines that make wax figurines are now part of an exhibit at the Museum of Science and Industry.
Tim McGill is there, of course, and has a look at the nostalgic display. Good morning.
Good morning. You guys are going to think I'm kidding, but I lost sleep last night thinking about this live shot today. I was so excited because this brings back memories from when I was a kid. I've just made one here. These little miniature plastic factories.
These were great.
Oh, it's a little hot. Oh, that smell. You can't do this in 8 states. It's illegal.
I can smell it from here.
But, it's so visceral. You get this warm plastic that emerges out of this magical machine, and it smells so good. It's a part of this exhibit that's going to be showing here at the Museum of Science and Industry all the way through next year. I understand already, it's just opened a few days ago, people from across the country are coming to this because it's bringing back such good memories and people collect these things. So here to tell us about John Llewellyn, who's a senior exhibit strategist with the museum. Thanks for being with us this morning. And so what's your opinion? Why is it so much attention to this? Why are people so fascinated with these?
I think, Tim, it's an innovation story. It's a little bit of a timeless story about how things are made that we use every day. So we learn about injection molded plastic objects, and what better example than the Moldorama souvenir?
So examples of that are like lawn chairs that are plastic, Legos, that's all injection molded. And so what are we looking at this part of the exhibit here?
So in this part of the exhibit, you can see the aluminum molds, the two-piece blocks that have a negative space inside it that the plastic is molded inside. Also, you see the colorful jars of different materials. These are the colorants and pigments that go into the low-density polyethylene resin that the plastics are made of.
So they've been making these plastic objects for what, more than 60 years, right? And what is the Chicago connection?
So in 1962, the Moldorama company was formed, and it's based in the Chicago area. It was initially designed by a local Illinois inventor named Tyke Miller. He created the Moldorama machines. The machines were built in Chicago, and like I said, the Moldorama company is headquartered in the area. So we've got 10 Moldorama machines in the museum.
Careful, those are hot.
Around the Midwest.
Okay, John, walk over with me to this display case because I think this is really cool. So these are different objects that at one point or another Moldorama made.
Yeah, what's pretty awesome about this is they're pulling out old molds that they haven't used in ages.
That's amazing.
So
that's incredible. So you've
you're
got
really gonna get
some vintage stuff that you can have molded.
Yeah, so I mean, if you haven't had a chance to get out to the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, it's definitely worth the trip just to go for everything else. But now they got the Moldorama exhibit, and if you collect any of those Moldoramas, you now have a chance to really get some rare ones. And they said that they're going to be going like a whole year at the museum, so you got time. But, you know, if you got nothing else going on, go to a museum.
Here's an idea that I think that Art is sharing that I think Uncle Warren would love. Imagine if you could mold weed into shapes you could smoke your favorite molded character from your youth.
Injection molded weed. You know, I think if anybody could figure that out, it's Reef Freeland.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. Well, that's cool. Thanks for finding those two stories to end the show. And also, we have some exciting news. Making lemonade from lemons. Sadly, is it next Tuesday night? Kira? Will not.
No, this will be the 22nd.
Okay, so we're premature in this announcement, so let's wait till next week to share it.
Yeah, so a couple Tuesdays from now, you're going to get a surprise.
Yes, and you will have to tune this next Tuesday and the following Friday to find out what that surprise is. So until then, Ed, anything parting to share? Anything to share in parting?
I don't know. If you guys want to upgrade your wardrobe, head over to edheller.com/merch. Check out all the different merchandise links I got. There's like pizzas and volcanoes and sporks and I don't know, all kinds of weird stuff you can order on a mug or a t-shirt or socks. Those Chicago pizza socks, those are pretty sweet.
Awesome. Should I end the show with our NASCAR preview one more time? Should I take us out with that? It's a couple minutes. I think people can.
I love that thing. We should just put that on a loop and then let it keep playing and see how long the stream goes.
Then so shall it be. Thank you, Ed, for joining me tonight. Everyone else out there in Chicago, thanks for joining us. Thanks for participating in our live chat. If you've donated, we appreciate that as well. Please make sure, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe, share our links, share our channel across all social media. And as we go into the weekend here in Chicago, please remember to stay safe, watch out for each other, be vigilant, and return to our show next Tuesday and Friday when we share more news from across the 50 wards of Chicago. Until then, remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Stay safe, Chicago.
Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive.
Shining with a heavenly grace, help you right on by. There ain't no road just like it, anywhere
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
Sometimes you can smell the green if your mind is feeling fine. There ain't no finer place to be.
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
Just slipping on by on the other the outside had trouble around. Watch the two. It's Friday night and you're looking too early to start the rounds. Talking that right from the golf course back makes you show your pleasure bound. And it's 4 o'clock in the morning and all the people have gone away. Just you and your mind.
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
Always another day, and the sun shines fine in the morning time. Always another day. And there ain't no road just like it, anywhere I found. Running south on
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.